Grandma's Magical Quilt. In a small, cozy cottage nestled at the edge of a sprawling forest, Grandma Clara lived with her two grandchildren, Emma and Jack. Grandma was famous for her warm hugs, the smell of cookies always wafting from her kitchen, and her most prized possession, a large, colorful quilt that she kept folded neatly at the foot of her bed. This wasn't just any quilt, it was Grandma's magical quilt. The quilt was unlike anything the children had ever seen before. Each square was made of a different, vibrant fabric: shiny golds, deep blues, bright greens, and soft, velvety reds. But most fascinating of all were the shimmering silver threads that crisscrossed the quilt, glinting whenever the light touched them. One chilly evening, as Grandma tucked Emma and Jack into bed, Jack pointed to the quilt resting in her arms. "Grandma, why is your quilt so special?" Grandma smiled, her eyes twinkling like the stars outside. "This quilt," she began, "is stitched with more than just fabric. It's stitched with stories, stories from generations past. Would you like to hear one tonight?" "Yes, please," the children exclaimed, sitting up eagerly. Grandma chuckled and carefully unfolded the quilt, laying it gently over the children. "Now, close your eyes," she said softly, "and let the quilt work its magic." As Emma and Jack closed their eyes, the room seemed to fill with a soft, golden glow. The threads on the quilt shimmered brighter and began to swirl. Suddenly, the children felt themselves being lifted, as if carried by a warm breeze. When they opened their eyes, they were no longer in their room. They were standing in a bustling marketplace, filled with the smell of fresh bread and the sound of people laughing and chatting. "Where are we?" Emma whispered. "This," Grandma's voice echoed around them, "is the story of your great-great-grandmother, Rosa. She was a baker, and every morning she would sell bread here at the market. She worked hard to care for her family, even on the coldest, snowiest mornings. Her courage and determination taught us the importance of hard work and kindness." Emma and Jack watched as Rosa handed a loaf of bread to a young boy who had no money to pay. "Don't worry," Rosa said, smiling. "Everyone deserves a warm meal." Before they could say more, the quilt swirled around them again, carrying them to a dense green forest. Fireflies danced in the air, and birds chirped from the treetops. A young boy stood nearby, whistling a cheerful tune. "That's your great-uncle Thomas," Grandma explained. "He loved the forest and its creatures. He could whistle like a bird and even talk to animals. He taught our family the importance of respecting nature and living in harmony with the world around us." As they watched, Thomas gently helped a baby deer find its way back to its mother. Jack beamed. "He's like a forest hero." The quilt began to swirl again, and the children found themselves in a small, candlelit cottage. A woman sat at a wooden desk, writing furiously with a quill. The room was filled with stacks of paper and the scent of ink. "This is your great-aunt Evelyn," Grandma said. "She was a storyteller just like me. She believed that words had the power to connect people even if they were far apart or lived in different times. Her stories inspired many, and her courage to share them reminds us to always speak from the heart." The children watched in awe as Evelyn smiled, holding up a freshly written page. "Every story matters," Evelyn whispered, almost as if she knew they were there. Before they knew it, the golden glow returned, and the children were back in their cozy room tucked under the magical quilt. They opened their eyes to see Grandma Clara smiling down at them. "Grandma," Emma said, her voice filled with wonder, "do we have our own patch on the quilt?" "Not yet," Grandma replied, smoothing the quilt over them. "But one day you will. This quilt holds the stories of our family, and your stories will be just as magical. You'll add your adventures, your dreams, and your kindness to it, just like those who came before you." Jack yawned, his eyelids growing heavy. "Will the quilt always keep our stories safe?" "Always," Grandma whispered, "as long as it's passed down with love." As the children drifted off to sleep, they dreamed of marketplaces, forests, and candlelit cottages, feeling connected to the family that came before them. The quilt shimmered softly in the moonlight, holding their dreams close and stitching their stories into its magical fabric. So, family is like a quilt, stitched together with love, stories, and memories. Every moment you create, every act of kindness, and every lesson you learn becomes a part of your family's legacy. Just like Grandma's magical quilt, your story matters, and it will inspire generations to come. So dream big, be kind, and cherish the ones you love. Sweet dreams, little storytellers.